Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a stack of sources centered around Kate Grenville's powerful historical novel, The Secret River.
That's right.
You've shared excerpts that tell the story of William Thornhill tracing his path from the brutal streets of London
Mm.
to a new, wild landscape in colonial Australia, specifically the Hawkesbury River region.
A huge shift.
And this journey, it forces a look at ambition, identity, and the truly devastating impact of settlement on the people already living there.
Absolutely. Our mission in this deep dive is to use your sources to uncover the key moments and insights in Thornhill's story and understand the forces, both external and internal, that shape his transformation.
It's a story that grips you from the start, isn't it? Set against these two vastly different backdrops, the grinding poverty of London and then just the immense ancient scale of the Australian bush.
Exactly. And the sources immediately drop us right into Thornhill's beginnings.
And what beginnings they are. These sources paint such a stark picture of his childhood in London. We're talking absolute bottom-rung survival.
Yeah. Gnawing hunger, scavenging for things like pure...
And the source doesn't shy away, does it? Tells us that means dog turds for tanning leather.
Grim detail. Sleeping on moldy straw, sharing maybe one threadbare blanket, living with the constant itch of fleas and bedbugs.
Even eating them, apparently, just to survive.
It's a world where every single scrap comes with risk. You mentioned the detail about his brother Matty getting a scar from a stone thrown while they were stealing turnips.
Yeah.
Or just the pervasive fear of dogs when you're down there scavenging on their territory. It highlights a life stripped down to the most basic, desperate need.
His very name, William Thornhill, seems to carry this burden, too. It's incredibly common as dirt, his sister says. But for him, it's also haunted by a dead brother with the same name. Yet there's this flicker of ambition, maybe, the thought that William Thornhill's will fill up the whole world.
Yeah, a hint of the drive that will push him later.
That raw start defines him, really. His first exposure to the docks, seeing the sheer scale of wealth in goods like sugar and brandy.
And hearing that rough justification for theft, waste is an abomination, saith the Lord. Kind of a twisted religious angle on just pure necessity.
But that justification doesn't save him when he gets caught with sugar in his hat. Mr. Crocker, the boss,
Delivers a swift public whipping. Just dismisses it as a feed for the nits.
Right. No story, no excuse works in that power dynamic.
That whipping being publicly marked and shamed, it's a brutal lesson, isn't it? About the arbitrary power of others and just how precarious his own existence is.
His apprenticeship as a waterman to Mr. Middleton offers a temporary sort of relative reprieve, warmth, food, a straw mattress even.
Yeah, but even on the river, he's not fully free. There's the tyranny of the tide dictating his work.
And the grueling physical labor that earns him river hands, blisters and blood staining the oars of his boat, the Hope. His master sees it as a necessary rite of passage, I suppose.
He's keenly observing the gentry he ferries, who seem like another species. He notes their casual entitlement, their tricks and whims.
Like the gentleman eyeing his wife's leg as property while warning the boatman away.
Yeah, it's a glimpse into a different world of privilege and control he can't access, but he's starting to understand it.
It starkly contrasts with his growing connection to Sal, Mr. Middleton's daughter, while her upbringing is one of relative comfort: oranges, sweetbreads, a fine shawl.
She also carries the weight of family loss. Their secret courtship by the river, finding warmth and comfort together, feels like a defiant act against that cold London world.
Her distinctive mouth, his quiet fascination with her, the way thinking of her warms him from the inside. It's the development of a core bond, isn't it?
Definitely. And even Sal's mother's death connects back to Thornhill's childhood fears, haunted by those stone lions at Christchurch that also terrified young William and his own mother.
After becoming a free man, he marries Sal and deliberately chooses harder, cleaner work on lighters, trying to avoid the need to truckle to the gentry.
Right. And with his strong brother Rob, he starts a family. The sound of Sal's off-key humming becomes the sound of this new, fragile life.
And then that fragility just shatters. Mr. Middleton dies, followed by Sal's mother.
They lose their leased house in Swan Lane, a place that felt like a fortress. The furniture and boats taken by bailiffs over rent arrears.
It's such a swift, brutal fallback to the bottom rung.
Yeah, living on rags in places like Butler's buildings, the fleas and bedbugs return. The sources describe him feeling like a man who had lost an arm, just this emptiness where his newfound security had been.
This plunges him back into petty theft on the river. He's more cautious now, learning the value of moonless nights and bribing the marine police.
Well oiled with bottles of French brandy, the source says.
Right, but there's still this persistent internal cost, the choking feeling of thievery.
And seeing Collarbone, caught for brandy theft, in Newgate Prison, facing the very real fear of hanging, that really brings the consequences into sharp focus.
And this is where Sal's strength becomes absolutely crucial. She understands he needs a story of innocence, not the truth.
She makes him practice the lie as innocent as the child unborn, like an actor rehearsing lines.
Her love and conviction become a different kind of wealth. He glimpses her in the public gallery during his trial, just a face in a crowd, a silent source of support.
The trial itself is depicted so vividly. His hands tied, forcing his head down in submission, the abstract power of words, these little puffs of air determining his fate.
The judge, dehumanized by his robes, just a symbol of an uncaring system.
The lawyer tries to sow doubt, highlights the dark night. But the victim, Lucas, is certain, and the other witness, Yates, eventually confirms the identification by voice. I knew him by his voice.
The verdict is swift and final. Hanged by the neck until you are dead. He hears a cry, maybe Sal.
He feels utterly exposed, stripped naked of his story.
But fate intervenes again, doesn't it? A reprieve comes through this chain of influence, initiated by Captain Watson, a regular fare who writes a flowery letter.
That letter passes through various hands, eventually reaching Lord Hawkesbury.
Sal, unable to read the ornate language of the letter, has to rely on others. Thornhill wonders if it's fancy words, not truth, that truly matter in this world.
Sal's reaction is chilling, though. She sees him as good as dead, her eyes seeming to look right through him.
Her health fails, work disappears. The sources powerfully point out that Sal, though not convicted, is sentenced just as surely as he is.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
The conditional pardon arrives almost casually. The turnkey calls his name. He hears the proclamation mercy, but only on condition of transportation for life to New South Wales.
His stunned question, asking if he is to live, is met with that dark, almost mocking joke from the turnkey about Sal sharing the pleasure of a sea voyage. May God have mercy on her soul.
A brutal end to that chapter. And that brings us to New South Wales. Stepping ashore, he finds Sydney a sad, scrabbling place. The camp, essentially a holding pen for convicts.
The experience is disorienting. After the voyage, seasickness returning on land, the burning sun, the intense glare off the water.
Seeing Sal again after their separation feels almost unreal, like a picture.
Their son, Bub, was born mid-journey in Cape Town. Sal's quiet question, "A boy, Will Richard, after my day," underscores the fragmented nature of their journey and family life. A feeling heightened by the detail of never knowing which baby on the crowded ship was theirs.
Early encounters here really set a tone. A drunk man's warning about poxy savages and eyeing Willie as potential food.
Yep.
It highlights the brutal attitudes.
Yet a hiccuping woman shows unexpected kindness, small moments of humanity.
Their immediate poverty mirrors London, cooking on sticks, using bark plates, eating dirt crumbs. Only the baby is well fed.
The settlement itself is rough, scraped raw, rutted streets, rough tracks, crude huts of bark and mud, wandering hogs, naked children, dogs, a lone man digging. It's a place of raw survival built quickly and, well, brutally.
And amidst this rawness, Thornhill has a profound moment of realization about the land itself. It feels ancient, alive, breathing.
Fundamentally different from London, where he labored like a mole in the dark, as the source puts it. It's a vastness that was here long before him and will remain long after.
Their first night in a borrowed hut reinforces the harshness. Cheerless, dark, choking smoke, sleeping on bare dirt. Willie is afraid, Sal exhausted.
Yet in this bare space, their intimacy is rekindled. A shyness after the separation, but finding comfort in each other's familiar bodies, the thing he knew best.
Thornhill finds work for Mr. King, using his boat skills for illicit trade smuggling unofficial casks of rum, brandy, and gin privily to a hidden bay.
This plugs him into the system of assignment, ticket of leave, and pardon. These concepts, which offered paths to freedom and land ownership, feel like a light enough fetter compared to the hangman's noose.
Right. The sources explain that within a year, with a ticket of leave, he could work for himself or get land.
And for the first year, Sal is technically his master as a convict's wife. They find a dark humor and intimacy in this role reversal, joking, "Yes, Mrs. Thornhill. No, Mrs. Thornhill. At your service, Mrs. Thornhill."
This shared dream for the future is their driving force, isn't it? Making money quickly, returning to London, buying a freehold house in the borough exactly like the one they lost in Swan Lane.
With a boat, an apprentice, a comfortable armchair, And toasted muffins? You can almost smell the butter.
Sal clings so tightly to the idea of London. She names their grog shop the Pickle Herring, just for the pleasure of saying the words.
And rubs a coin, vowing to take it right back where it come from. She doesn't venture far from the settlement unless he persuades her, highlighting her cautious nature.
As they navigate this new world, they become increasingly aware of the people already here. The sources describe two sorts of natives, those struggling in the settlement and those in the landscape beyond.
Scabby Bill is the primary example of the former. His appearance is striking, his blackness seeming to absorb light, scarred by smallpox, mauling.
But also by other marks carefully drawn, a language of skin, utterly unlike the random scars of convict punishment.
Thornhill feels a jolt of fear seeing him at night, a piece of the darkness moving. Sal is initially embarrassed by his nakedness, but gets used to him, seeing him as just a hazard like ants or the flies, assuming he'd just fade away to die.
Scabby Bill's desperate preference for rum highlights the destructive impact of settlement. It gives him astonishing power, makes him a source of twisted entertainment for the settlers.
A black insect of a man capering, reinforcing the idea that he is lower even than they were. It's hard to read.
Beyond the settlement edge, there's a constant, unseen presence. Campfires visible at night from the river, the sounds of distant singing, high, hard dirge, and clapping sticks echoing across the water.
The white settler's perspective on this presence is crucial and deeply flawed. The sources show them seeing no signs that the blacks felt the place belonged to them, noting no fences, no house, no fields or flocks.
This lack of familiar European agriculture and building is seen as proof they hadn't put labor in, justifying calling them savages and seeing the land as empty and available. A really fundamental misunderstanding, or perhaps a willful one.
This perception fuels Thornhill's next move, the decision to leave Sydney and head for the Hawkesbury. He feels it's time, deciding to finally listen to that little voice prompting him.
Sal's agreement is key, though cautious. Make sure them boys have got their father.
And a stroke of luck provides an opportunity. Working for Blackwood, a pardoned man with land who needs a boatman. This saves Thornhill from a harsher fate in Van Diemen's Land.
But Thornhill is also driven by a growing obsession with the Hawkesbury itself, this place of legend and opportunity.
The journey there takes them out of the familiar harbor, past Pinchgut and Garden Island. The open ocean is terrifying, tasting the salt of fear on his lips. Then Blackwood points out the river mouth.
Almost immediately, they see signs of the land's inhabitants' smoke rising from the shore. Blackwood's blunt assessment. They are every bloody where they've seen us all right and are telling the others up the line.
The land is absolutely not empty.
They pass a specific point of land that catches Thornhill's eye, a dent by a creek, a chip of flat ground, a speck of European green, a rough hut, a clearing like something flayed.
And then, that shocking encounter. Smasher appears, waving and shouting, "Got the bugger! Learn that poxy thief!"
Blackwood hands Thornhill his telescope, and he sees the hanging body of a black man, a long sack hung heavy from a silver tree.
A brutal sight. It just underscores the violent reality of settlement. They learn this is near Blackwood's Lagoon, 100 acres, the best pardon money could buy.
The price of land is already being paid in blood.
Despite witnessing this, or perhaps because of it, Thornhill claims that promising point of land for himself. He remembers preachers' words about the promised land, finds deep satisfaction in the phrase, and promises it by himself, to himself.
He returns to Sydney to tell Sal. Her reaction is skeptical. Farmer Will, you don't hardly know one end of a turnip from the other.
She urges caution to know when to leave well alone. Her dreams shaped by hardship unlike his, which haven't felt the rope around her neck. A powerful line.
He describes the point's potential enough land, slope, ridge, flat ground, and that primal fear of seeing another man there, someone else's corn, someone else's hut.
The process of claiming land as described in the sources is surprisingly simple on paper. The governor largely turns a blind eye.
The idea is that King George's ownership is meaningless if the land is trodden only by black men. It needs civilized folk to settle it. That's the justification.
To fund the move, Thornhill signs a bond with Mr. King for the Hope, 115 plus interest. He sees it as a snake around his neck, driving him.
He works the packet trade intensely, the Hope always full, money stuck to William Thornhill's fingers.
His motivation is clear. Pay the debt, the snake, escape the likely fate of a worn-out London waterman, and realize his ambition, a vision fantastical but as real as the tiller he holds.
Sal is pregnant again, the baby's coming quickly, rooting him in Sydney life. This makes the leap to the point harder, but he feels he had to take that step.
He makes that solemn promise to Sal, 5 years, then they go home, swearing, "Christ my heart and hope to die as God is my witness."
Sal agrees, but anchors the promise to her pregnancy, not till I got this baby out safe and sound, and adds that cautionary note about the difficulty ahead. You don't pick turnips off of a tree.
Their arrival at Thornhill's Point in September 1813 is quiet, only dog to see them. Sal's anxiety about encountering black people is immediate.
Thornhill lies, saying he ain't never seen a single one, justifying it to himself as, strictly speaking, true of this exact spot. It's a slippery slope.
For Thornhill, encountering the ocean swell at the river mouth is the thrill, feeling the power of the vast sea, his boat, a tiny pip.
But for Sal, unused to it, it's terrifying. Her body is gathered up tight, she can't find his jokes funny, you feel her fear.
He acquires and learns to use a gun. It's a clumsy palaver at first, fumbling with loading and priming. The recoil is sharp, as if someone had struck him.
Reaching the point feels like a frenzy of longing. He struggles against the tide, the mud gripping his feet, floundering ashore.
Reaching dry land feels like being Adam in paradise, spotting the wild yellow daisies, symbols of the untamed land.
A black bird, crying, "Kay!" watches him from a branch. He throws a stone, but the bird is indifferent. It's a small moment, but it hints at the land's own perspective, maybe, uncaring of his arrival.
He reflects on the immense distance traveled, not just from London to Sydney, but from Sydney to this empty-feeling riverbank.
Seeing it through Sal's eyes, the tent, a flimsy home compared to the Sydney hut that felt solid as St. Paul's, he understands the hardship for her, alone for a week without help.
His blind passion for the land had overlooked this. The bird's cry sounds rueful, echoing his nascent regret.
The first labor is clearing the land, described as backbreaking, and they immediately find signs that someone else has put labor in.
Dug up ground. The boys argue if it's moles or savages. Dick suggests they were planting things.
Thornhill dismisses it. Them poxy blacks don't plant nothing, throwing away a root. This reinforces that white belief that Indigenous people didn't cultivate or improve the land, upholding the idea it was free for the taking.
Then they have their first face-to-face encounter with the men of the place. Whisker Harry, Long Bob, Black Dick. The sources note their striking appearance, their scars, again described as carefully drawn, a language of skin.
Speaking of identity and history, unlike the arbitrary scars of convict life, their nakedness is described from the settler's perspective as shameless.
The language barrier is immediate and absolute. Thornhill tries a jovial approach, old boy, but it's useless. He feels imbecile, frustrated, thinking they might as well bloody bark.
He realizes they seem to be waiting for something, expecting a transaction, like beads or mirrors, perhaps.
Sal brings pork, attempting a transaction, mirroring her experience with Scabby Bill. Thornhill senses these men are different, but hopes they'll take it and leave.
The children's fear is visceral. Bub asks, "Why didn't they spear us, Day?"
Sal tries forced cheerfulness, saying they got no call to spear us, and Thornhill agrees, lying that they were just put out about wanting his spade. More denial.
Then Willie finds spears thrust into the ground near the hut. It sparks a start of panic.
Thornhill again minimizes the threat, saying they don't mean nothing by it, and hides them from Sal, whom he sees as a soft-hearted little thing needing protection from the truth.
He plants the corn, pushing a seed in, a symbolic act of ownership, thinking, "Ain't nothing to me if it's dead or alive. Longed it says William Thornhill got here first."
Meanwhile, Sal tries to create domesticity, building a yard with a fireplace, water barrel, and table, trying to make this raw place feel like home.
Driven by necessity, they continue clearing land for a real crop and a hut, working constantly to prevent Sal's fragile cheerfulness from becoming threadbare.
All the while, there's an unspoken, perceived presence. Neither he nor Sal mentions the black people, but they feel watched.
Searching the shadows only makes things more confusing, glimpses of figures that dissolve into branches that must have been unnerving.
The tension mounts. Thornhill climbs the ridge overlooking the point, expecting to survey his new spread, thinking everything I see, I own.
But the climb is harder than expected, and from the top he feels too small against the vastness.
It's there he finds the carvings on the rock. An ant draws his eye, revealing lines that form a fish, the spine of a bream, clearly a human hand at work.
Then he sees another pattern next to it, a picture of the Hope, his boat.
Yeah, it's a jolting realization of a prior, long-standing claim on this place, unsettling his sense of ownership completely.
Neighbors begin to arrive. bringing news and reinforcing the prevalent attitudes. Smasher, Sagety, Webb, Spider, Loveday, Mrs. Herring, and Blackwood.
Smasher is particularly vile, openly bragging about his brutal treatment of the indigenous people, showing off his trained dogs that go for black skin.
Joking about lessons for the blacks, with Sagety smirking along. Horrible.
Sagety, scarred by his time in irons, tells a story of constant theft by blacks, his hardship fueling his resentment. Webb recounts his own losses, leading him to abandon his claim and leave for Windsor.
Loveday articulates the common white view, calling the natives totally destitute and blaming it on innate indolence.
Amidst these harsh voices, Mrs. Herring stands out, offering a note of caution, warning Smasher and Sagety they are heading for your comeuppance.
Blackwood arrives, bringing a measure of authority and liquor. Smasher complains about the natives. Blackwood points out the daisy yams are almost gone where Thornhill is clearing.
Explaining the blacks dig them for food, he says taking them means the blacks go hungry. He and Thornhill exchange a knowing glance, acknowledging the clash over resources.
Thornhill is burdened by worries, the 115's debt, the snake, the hopes sitting idle, low food stores, seeds still not planted. The pressure is immense.
To ease the labor and gain some security, he applies for convict servants, following advice to ask for 4, hoping for 3.
An encounter in Sydney with Suckling, a freeborn functionary, reminds Thornhill of his status. Suckling recoils from him, telling him to stand back, for God's sake, man, you harbor the flies so.
Thornhill feels the old pain of being a felon, realizing he has to keep paying for his past, in a way.
2 servants are assigned. Dan Oldfield, who shares a past of hunger and cold, and Ned, nervous and clumsy.
At the point, the servants build a flimsy lean-to, a kennel. Ned is useless with an axe. Thornhill lies about regulations to push Dan, claiming he's an emancipist myself and can't go against the governor.
Dan's spirit seems broken. The sources make it clear the servants are now below them on life's ladder, establishing a new hierarchy.
With servants present, intimacy with Sal has a new layer. They joke about returning home, but Thornhill has a deepening realization. You won't never want to leave.
He sees New South Wales as a machine where some will rise and others will be crushed, and he intends to be one of the former.
Sal falls ill with fever. Thornhill feels helpless. Mrs. Herring comes to aid, but he still cannot bring himself to say, "We will go home." That promise is fading.
Sal recovers, helped by Blackwood, who brings eels and talks of East Sheep, connecting her back to London and helping her find strength in the familiar.
The servants provide a sense of security, easing Thornhill's anxiety when he's away with the boat.
Then, the presence of the blacks becomes undeniable. They gather on the point in a crowd, arriving from the ridges and by canoe. Many fires are lit, sounds of activity fill the air, and more kangaroos appear near the settlement.
The children's fear escalates. Bub asks directly, "Are the savages coming for us?" Sal denies it, but the anxiety is palpable.
Thornhill gets the gun. Sal sees him, but he makes a flimsy excuse about spiders. The boys argue about the blacks and the gun. Dan expresses fear, while Ned is eager to shoot the buggers.
Thornhill goes out at night. Under the moonlight, he sees a large blaze at the blacks' camp and witnesses their dancing, a war dance.
The figures are painted white, like masks, seeming like the very earth made human. He recognizes Long Jack and Whisker Harry in their dances. He understands it's a drama, a tale they are enacting, but he feels completely an outsider, unable to comprehend its meaning.
Back in the hut, they discuss the situation. Sal suggests giving them things, let them help themselves, mentioning Mrs. Herring did this once.
Ned wants to shoot. Dana fears their hut will be burned.
Thornhill takes the gun and fires a shot into the air, a blunt statement. "Put this in your pipe and smoke it." The recoil is violent, a blind flash and explosion in the dark.
For the next week, the blacks continue dancing nightly. The hut dwellers listen, but their possessions are untouched. The immediate fear surprisingly diminishes.
Ned shows an aptitude for the gun, while Dan is awkward with it, preferring a club.
They clear a wider space around the hut, creating a kind of moat, fearing spears from the dense forest edge. They realize the forest and the people within it cannot be got rid of.
Thornhill visits Smasher to buy guard dogs, biters. Smasher is openly hostile about the blacks and demands an exorbitant price.
And Smasher reveals a horrifying detail. He shows Thornhill a chained black woman, his black velvet. Her skin is flaky, covered in sores like red jewels.
Smasher has a small, wet smile, implying Blackwood also keeps a black woman captured. Thornhill is repulsed and refuses to buy the dogs. You can see lines being drawn.
Later, a gathering occurs at Thornhill's hut, including Smasher, Sagety, Twist, Loveday, Mrs. Herring, and Blackwood. Smasher recounts Sophia Webb being robbed and mocked in flaming tensions.
twist, marked by rickets, is associated with a grim rumor that his hog killed his infant and he refused burial. Loveday repeats his view of native innate indolence.
A crude joke about keeping gins is shared, met with Mrs. Herring's strong disapproval. Smasher insults Blackwood by calling him a black bitch, provoking Blackwood to attack him.
Blackwood leaves in a rage, vowing Smasher will be real sorry. The conflict among the settlers is escalating too.
The governor responds to settler complaints with action. Captain McCallum arrives with troops. He brings a drum, a map, and a plan, a pincer movement, a human chain to drive like sheep at Durkee Creek.
McCallum is a detached gentleman. His strangled way of speaking marks him as a part. He barely notices the Thornhills refusing their offer of hospitality. He reveals the grim objective: 6 bags for 6 heads.
Chilling. Thornhill, knowing the terrain intimately, recognizes the plan is flawed, the land is impassable, the resistance will be fierce, the mosquitoes, leeches, and ticks alone will make it impossible.
Sal is indignant at McCallum's brutal plan, but Thornhill stops her, squeezing her hand, sensing the danger of speaking out.
McCallum delivers a speech about the colony rests on a knife edge and their duty to his king and his country. Thornhill feels only indifference to these abstract notions.
McCallum returns deflated. His uniform is torn, the raid failed. Spears were thrown, but the natives vanished into the bush, just as Thornhill predicted.
The governor issues a proclamation read by Loveday. It starts with a civil request for the natives to depart, but quickly escalates.
Permitting force, fire, and killing if they resist, offering a pardon for participating settlers, and a reward for heads 10 pounds a skull.
In a sickening display, Smasher presents the ears of natives he's killed, dark brown, hacked off, rough. Sal is disgusted. The children crane their necks to see.
Smasher boasts about boiling heads. Thornhill maintains a stone face, outwardly showing nothing. Smasher also explicitly threatens revenge against Blackwood.
This really brings us to the secret river, doesn't it? Not just the place, but the hidden currents of consequence and the point of no return. Sal makes a desperate plea to leave, go to Windsor, restart the pickle herring, seeking safety.
Thornhill refuses. He feels he cannot turn back on this place. It would be like giving up a child. He feels it would mean someone else would own it. The brutal logic of them or us has taken hold.
They have the gun now. He believes the worst conflict is over, a terrible miscalculation.
The tension between them escalates to a physical confrontation. Sal insists on leaving. Thornhill grabs her, threatening to strike her, but stops. The rage passes, leaving him feeling trapped, caught between her desire for safety and his ambition for the land.
News arrives that Sagitt's place has been burned out. Dan reports finding Sagitt speared, describing him as a living thing with a small, evil animal inside him. Dan thinks he will die.
Thornhill decides to take him to Windsor Hospital, finding a perverse comfort to be dealing with objects, rather than the messy human conflict. Sagitt grips the spear, making high, urgent sounds. Thornhill offers that hollow lie, "You'll be right now."
Thornhill visits the Durkee Creek aftermath. Silence. The bodies are there, a man, woman, child. The smell, the flies, the vomit. He finds a dying boy, Dick's age.
Giving him water, he realizes Sagitt poisoned them with green powder before the spearing. He decides not to tell anyone, especially Sal, burying the truth.
His own corn crop is taken. Dick reports black people picking the corn. Thornhill fires the gun but misses. Dan and Ned capture a boy.
Dan wants to use him as bait, like Smasher did, saying it worked real good. Ned is excited, eager to learn him real good.
Dick, witnessing this, makes that quiet, powerful plea. "Go," Dick said in a small, tight voice. "Go."
They release the boy, who stumbles into the forest, injured near the eye.
Thornhill feels the loss of the corn deeply. He saw the crop as a promissory note for his future, destroyed by the black people with a burning stick. He notices the silence from the blacks' camp now, realizing he misses their familiar sounds, wishes for them.
Sal's reaction to the ruined corn is profound. She turns to wood, then walks towards the blacks' deserted camp, further than she has ever ventured from the settlement. Thornhill follows.
At the abandoned camp, they find domestic details, neatly tucked humpies, a tidy coil of string, the ground swept clear and clean. Sal finds a broom.
And she has that powerful realization. They was here. Like you and me was in London, just the exact same way. She confronts Thornhill. "You never told me."
Thornhill falls back on the settlers' justifications, echoing Smasher's phrases. They got all the rest, no rights to any of this place. He sees them as having sat there smiling and plausible.
Sal makes her final stand. She insists they must leave, saying life would be better, even Butler's bloody buildings. The children watch silently.
Thornhill's refusal is violent and definitive. "We ain't going," he declares. "It's them or us, and by Jesus, Sal, it won't be us." He grabs Sal, nearly striking her, unleashing his rage. "Damn your eyes! Nor you neither, Sal!" The line is irrevocably drawn.
Tragedies burning is confirmed. Dan reports the steering again. They take it to Windsor. Then Smasher makes his proposal. With the blacks supposedly dealt with at Darky Creek, Sedgety saw to that, he suggests going to Blackwood's Lagoon tonight to settle the lot, finish the job.
The other men agree, Ned eagerly wanting fingers as trophies. It's horrific.
On the boat journey to the massacre, Thornhill takes the men in the Hope. He reflects on them, seeing them not as inherently evil, but as not bad men whose harsh lives have brought them to this point.
He sees Sal's hut light, knowing she's preparing to leave, understanding that by joining this, he is choosing it of his own free will, and it will end his life as he knew it, severing the knot with Sal.
As the tide turns, he feels the decision is made. They prepare their story for the authorities. Carliboo dispersed. Smasher outlines the brutal plan. Get the men first, then we clean up the breeders.
The massacre at dawn at Blackwood's Lagoon is chaotic and brutal. Wading ashore, tension, the first shot rings out, followed by shooting, slashing, screaming.
Specific horrifying killings are described: a shot head, a slashed back, a decapitated child, Whisker Harry's death. Blackwood appears amidst the carnage, roaring, no, trying to stop it. Thornhill is hit, Ned wounded.
Thornhill is paralyzed, watching. He fumbles with his gun, his muzzle always too late to intervene. Hit and knocked over, he feels like a helpless beetle. He hears Ned screaming.
Whisker Harry's death is depicted with tragic dignity. He holds his middle, lies in the dust, kisses the blood on the ground, revealing his wound, described metaphorically as pulsating, small, evil animal.
In the aftermath, bodies are everywhere. Black Dick, Long Jack, a dead woman, and baby. The chilling sound of a baby wailing underneath its dead mother's body is the final detail as Dan moves towards it. Utter devastation.
The final section shows the aftermath in the years that follow, as Thornhill builds his life, literally, into a fortress. His house on the point has thick stone walls, a hinged staircase for defense, gun slits, a cleared hillside around it.
The sources note the builder, Divine, flatters him, calling him Mr. Thornhill, an eminence, a title Thornhill now enjoys. He's achieved a certain status.
He orders stone lions from London for the gateposts, costing a massive 10-pound guineas. They are a direct callback to the lions he feared as a child, a symbol of London authority and status imported to the bush.
They arrive looking like domestic tabbies, but he puts them high on the gateposts, sending a clear message: watch your step, you are on my place now.
But beneath the house, hidden in the darkness, is the fish carving on the rock. It's still there, dark, cut off, not fading, but not alive.
Thornhill knows it's there, a secret beneath his feet, a past his children's children will never know what was beneath their feet. A constant, hidden reminder.
London has become just a story they tell. They won't return because too many of the important parts happened here. His children, born in this new land, are outsiders in the London of his memories.
He builds a wall around the garden, higher than a man, with only one gate. It pleases both him and Sal, who had often been on the wrong side of such a wall in London.
Sal creates an English garden within it, daffodils, roses, even Irish turf to repel snakes. She is safe, contained behind this barrier, a different kind of prison maybe.
He commissions portraits for the parlor, intended to remind him of the person he had become. The first painter, an educated Cambridge man, seems to mock him, painting him looking delicate with an upside-down book.
Thornhill pays but hides the portrait. The second, an old colonialist named Upton, paints him awkwardly holding a telescope. Thornhill worries it reveals something true but unwanted about him. He can't quite capture or control his image.
Sal stops marking the tree with lines indicating their time spent, a symbol of their plan to return home. The lines fade. A silence grows between them, the thing not spoken of, the massacre.
Then, a figure from the past returns. Whisker Harry appears, living on the point, doing nothing, thin and silent like a bundle of sticks, his eyes dull.
Thornhill brings him blankets and sacks, offers food, trying to bridge the gap with rough generosity. Plenty tucker, good bloody tucker, mate.
But Jack ignores him, sits like a stone. Thornhill gets angry, frustrated by the lack of response. Bugger you then, Jack? You can bleeding well starve.
He tells himself he's done more than enough, could have shot him or set dogs on him. It feels out of his hands. He stops visiting. He can't face the living reminder.
Thornhill spends his evenings on his veranda bench, watching the cliffs across the river with a spyglass. He is surrounded by the symbols of his success: Sunset, Madeira, cigar, poplars, roses, the wall.
Sal's comforting presence, worn but with the same smile. Her leg, a familiar comfort. Cattle, servants, horses, children riding like gentry. He has it all, seemingly.
But the cliffs across the river remain an unknowable face, never the same, watching as the shadow of his own hill moves across them. The cliffs feel like an empty stage, with Thornhill as the audience, scanning for figures.
He knows few of them living up there, reflecting on their capacity for simply being in the landscape.
He thinks he sees a man watching from the clifftop, straining to see in the fading light. Surrounded by everything he claimed, he cannot understand why it doesn't feel like triumph. It's a hollow feeling.
He continues watching into the dark, finding a measure of peace only by peering through the spyglass long after anything is visible, perhaps searching for something that isn't there or can't be seen.
You've guided us through a story that is both deeply personal and tragically historical. William Thornhill's escape from one kind of poverty and control in London led him to seek a different kind of ownership in New South Wales.
We've seen how ambition, fear, and the desperate desire for security fueled his transformation. The sources vividly show the devastating collision of worlds and the terrible cost of claiming a place that already belonged to another.
Thornhill built his house, his life, on that point of land, importing symbols of status like the stone lions, echoing the fears of his childhood.
But the hidden fish carving under the floorboards, a silent witness to a prior claim, and Thornhill's lonely vigil watching the cliffs, suggest that some things, some costs, can never truly be escaped.
Yeah. The story leaves us with that unsettling question, doesn't it? Can you ever truly build a secure home on a foundation of dispossession and violence? Or will the echoes of the past always remain, watching from the shadows just beyond the wall you built?